Hey, welcome back to some more opportunity for health accumulation. So, are you bloated? So we're talking about today. Surveys show that 30% of us Americans complain of bloating on a consistent basis. That's about 100 million Americans who have regular bloating issues. I don't think any of us enjoy the feeling of looking or being pregnant. We're not actually pregnant. Guys can't get pregnant, but for the ladies, when we're not actually pregnant, that bloated look. And bloating, it's a sensation of fullness in the abdomen. And like many patients over the years who complain of bloating, there's the physical discomfort, but there's also the, disrupted digestive process. There's the decreased appetite. There's the self-esteem effects that can really disrupt life and just not make wearing clothing enjoyable, not going shopping enjoyable. And it's not fat accumulation, it's bloating. So if you haven't already signed up for the Wholeness channel, now's a great time to. And share this with somebody you know who's getting bloated. All right, so one of the most common causes of bloating is the production and accumulation, not health accumulation, but the accumulation of gas in the digestive tract. And this can result from swallowing air while eating or drinking. That happens all the time because people are eating so fast, on the run, in the car, grab and go. And this can lead to fermentation of undigested carbohydrates by our bacteria in the large intestine mostly, and as well as in the small intestine. But this buildup of gas, this gives this feeling of fullness and just discomfort. So we gotta slow down our eating patterns and not eat so much air. Another way this can show up is in our experience with FODMAPs foods. So you may have heard of these FODMAPs or the FODMAPs diet. And this is because foods high in fermentable carbohydrates, which we call the FODMAPs foods specifically, such as beans, lentils, onions, garlic, a lot of fruits as well, these can contribute to bloating. And if you've ever been on a FODMAPs diet or have had a lot of gas and bloating for a long time, you may have been on a FODMAPs diet, and it's not exactly the most fun thing ever, but it does help a lot of people. And also on that vein, carbonated beverages, sugar alcohols, like xylitol, erythritol, artificial sweeteners, sucralose, aspartame, these are known perpetrators of gas and bloating in so many people. So look at the FODMAPs, and of course, get rid of your artificial sweeteners if bloating is an issue. The next thing to consider is gut motility. So gut motility is basically the movement of food and gas through the digestive tract via contractions and basically the microvilli activity of sweeping food downstream. And when this rhythm is disrupted, that motor complex is disrupted, bloating is the common symptom. So this slow or irregular motility, that can lead to the accumulation, once again, of gas and fluids really getting stuck in certain places in the digestive tract. And that could actually cause insane discomfort. Many people think, I got cancer, and they actually have gas stuck in their intestines. All right, next is microbial imbalance. So gut flora being off kilter, our microbiome, having shifted in a way that promotes literally more fermentation and more of that gas buildup. So a person takes, say, birth control, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, antibiotics, acid blockers, all this anti-stuff, they tend to create significant imbalances in the microbiome. And if this isn't rectified, literally a person can get insane amounts of gas production and bloating, and then, it's leaky gut and all that kind of stuff as well. All right, number 5 is food intolerances. So some individuals, they're sensitive to lactose, or they have issues with nightshades or gluten sensitivities. And these will commonly lead to bloating. And many people are able to get around these, when they're home because they just don't eat them. But when they're with friends, they're with, going to parties, they're eating out at a restaurant, and they get hit unbeknownst to them, unknowingly, by these food components that, all of a sudden, boom, they're pregnant again. Here it goes. And I would suggest in cases like this, to consider looking at, maybe taking a specific enzyme. There's multiple out there, specific enzymes that can help with breaking down of lactose or gluten proteins. and digest these sugars and proteins more efficiently. However, if you know a food is a problem, I would not aim to keep on putting that food into your being, because it's literally promoting an inflammatory process in your digestive tract. And that's increasing the leaky gut and the whole cycle that led to the bloating in the first place. So if you're out and about, vacation, you know what's gonna happen, you're on a cruise, I would probably be taking those enzymes. But otherwise, take good care to try to step away from those foods that you know are problematic. Number 6 on the bloating, digestive disorders such as autoimmune conditions like inflammatory bowel disease, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, colitis, these kind of things, as well as like infectious conditions like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO. These also can cause bloating, and that can be the underlying current as to why you're experiencing this. Those are definitely much less common, although I'd say SIBO it's like, who doesn't have SIBO due to the stresses and the processed food that so many of us consumed over the years. But if you're putting a lot of work into all the other stuff I'm talking about, and you feel like you're not getting anywhere, then you definitely may want to look into talking to your doctor about getting specific testing done to look at, is there an inflammatory bowel condition going on? Is there an autoimmune condition going on? Or do I have some chronic infection, with parasites or like the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth bacteria that are in the wrong place causing an infection, excess yeast, those kind of things. All right, number 7 is hormone fluctuations, and I would suggest this is specifically challenging for the ladies out there, especially those who are menstruating, where your hormones are going up and down every month. This big hormone change can greatly influence fluid balance, and this is often demonstrated by increasing and decreases in cyclical hormones throughout the month. So the hormones go up, they go down, and when a lot of times, that week before menses, before your period, is when it's greatest, and there's this biggest fluctuation, in the estrogens and progesterones, and that leads to the greatest symptoms of bloating and just overall discomfort, constipation for some, diarrhea for others, but bloating is often a big part of that. And then we have number 8, which is stress and anxiety, also depression. There's these psychological factors that our intestines literally are a psychological entity. They're very, very tightly correlated with our emotional state. And if your emotions are too off one way or too off another way, the chances of having digestive issues are extremely high. And we often overlook that in thinking, it's not that big a deal. All the stressors, the anxiety, the depression, all that, it is an insane deal. And if you have bloating on a regular basis and you're not looking at how am I managing my emotions, how am I managing my psychology, you want to do that. All right, the final one is salt or sodium. So if you're eating a lot of processed foods, you're gonna have high levels of sodium coming in, and they're not gonna be balanced with potassium, and your body's probably gonna have trouble figuring out what to do with that. And this bloating from salt, basically is a result of this extra water retention in the digestive tract, trying to make up for the fact that there's so much sodium coming in right now. So the body's always balancing the amount of water intracellular and extracellular with the amount of salt or sodium intracellularly and extracellular, like what's inside the cell, what's outside the cell, continually trying to balance that out. And if you got these big old boluses of sodium coming in because you're eating all this processed food, or maybe you're taking like elements or something like that, those electrolytes, and there's 1,000 milligrams per packet you're putting in your water, high chance you're gonna be bloated, especially if you're not somebody who naturally secretes a lot of sodium in their sweat. And we all have different variants of how much sodium we secrete in our sweat. Some people do secrete a lot, some people secrete hardly any. And so that is definitely something to consider. Like, what is my salt intake like? Because there is definitely a push for more and more salt, and I'm a proponent. Sodium is high value, can't live without sodium. But there's also this, if you're eating a lot of processed food, you probably already have buku amounts of sodium in you, and you probably don't need to be taking a bunch of electrolyte packets that have a bunch of sodium in them. You probably need more potassium, or magnesium, or calcium, these other electrolytes, to offset all the sodium that's coming via processed food. Or we could just decrease the amount of processed food coming in. There's also that. All the fast food, the Smart Marts, that helps everything. So I would promote that with great veracity. All right, so if you've suffered from bloating, you know how challenging it is, the physical toll, the emotional toll it can take on a person. And if you haven't suffered from bloating, you're like, what's the big deal? Talk to somebody who suffered from bloating or overeat for a bit and eat huge meals and don't chew them well and suck all this air in while you're eating these meals, and you'll recognize, man, bloating stinks. It's like, that's so uncomfortable. All right, so let me know your story about bloating, how you overcame it. Because if you overcame it with it, this is crazy. I didn't realize this was the thing that was causing the whole time. There's somebody else out there that probably could learn from that and also rid themselves of the bloating. All right, I'm Dr. Matt. Hope this is helpful. Please like, subscribe, share it with somebody so that nobody's left without the opportunity to accumulate health. Talk to you guys later.